So that's recording, that's going. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new podcast. I'm here in Manchester with a couple of guests on his hands. We've just brought out one of those albums, which is no mean feat. We're going to talk about that. But today, ladies and gentlemen, I've got Mikey and Ryan from The Assist. Hey up, lads.
Here we go. You're right.
How we doing, boys?
Yeah, all good, thanks to you.
Yeah, sound thanks. The lag of Zoom is always fun, isn't it?
Oh, and I'm shouting over it.
Well, we were just talking before we started the interview. I've kind of followed the journey of The Assist over a few years now, and interviewed you and done little bits at festivals and that kind of stuff, and just seeing you out and about enjoying life and just watching the growth and the development of The Assist over, I don't know, I think it's 4 or 5 years, lads. I think it is that long.
Yeah, I mean, when was the first time we bumped into? Was it maybe Mossborough
Festival in Sheffield? Yeah.
A couple of years at Mossborough, the Twang gigs.
Twang, yeah, in Sheffield again, yeah. And I saw you in Manchester when you nearly ran me over in Manchester, didn't you? When I was drunk crossing a road and you were in a taxi.
I meant it in good spirits.
Fair enough. But it's been a great journey, and we are where we are with it now. The album's just come out, but we've definitely got a lot of time to before we get to discussing the album. One thing we've never really done is sit down and just like not be rushed into just putting a little promotion video out. And so I just want to kind of like have a chat with you guys and sit back and just get to know you a bit more. For the people that don't know The Assist, we're going to find out a bit more about you both, if that's all right. Ryan, you look a bit scared.
That sounds brilliant, mate. I'm intrigued. Sitting back, bank holiday Monday. What more do you want? You
can trust me, mate. You can trust me. So yeah, how was it as lads? Growing up. Your brothers. You don't look like brothers.
You don't think?
No.
We said that in the same time. Did you see?
Okay. You see.
That's my thing. Yeah. So how was it? What was it like growing up as kids in the Black Country?
I mean, for us, I think growing up in the Black Country has shaped not only who we are as people, but also who we are as musicians. I think there are tons of musicians that we look up to that have, of course, came from the Midlands. Even we take influence from an array of different artists. I mean, Slade, Black Sabbath, just a few to mention, and they, to a degree, have influenced their sound. And not only that, just the people of the Black Country in general. You know what I mean? They are sort of real talk, real people, and just being around that sort of working class environment has allowed us to stay humble, stay grounded, and just real with their music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, growing up for us was like, we just was always out playing football, always around the shops, just hanging out, whatever. But I think our first bit into music was sort of like, you realise that the Wolverhampton had a good music scene, like where we're from, and these big bands had come to Wolverhampton, and people had just lose themselves for it. Do you know what I mean? People had really like escaping the fact that Paul Weller's coming to Wolverhampton or Liam Gallagher. Do you know what I mean? It was always like, music was always that sort of escapism. Like, I think.
Yeah.
For me.
Which one's the oldest out of you two?
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, it's Coach Mike. You're a bit more the bossy one. You're more organised, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm the oldest.
Ryan's the oldest.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, shit. Well, I don't know. Well, how come you're the bossy, organised one, and then you're the older one, Ryan? What's going on there?
I'm the wiser one.
I think you can have all the knowledge, but it's about the application, and I think Ryan really struggles with the application.
And why do you think that is, Ryan?
No, I'm just a wiser man. I think it's one of them. Just wiser. No, I'm 3 years older than Mike. So I'm 28 now, mix 25.
Wow.
Knocking on.
So what's it like being in a band, as brothers,
It's amazing.
But there's famous bands out there with that, that where it, they'll always having arguments and that kind of stuff. You guys, to me, feel quite tight as brothers, being around you before. No,
never had one argument, man. It's mad.
Oh God. Yeah, one of them. I mean, I love Ryan to bits. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was my idol growing up as a kid, and the band wouldn't be a thing without Ryan. Like Ryan came to me when I was in my bedroom one day and said, "Look, we're gonna be a band." And to me, you know, at that point in my life, I'd never even thought about it. I was always one for words. You know, I'd really enjoy English at school and whatever else, but I could never really put two and two together and figure out why exactly it was that I had this sort of affiliation towards the English language and words in general. And ultimately, I'd never have found that if it wasn't for Ryan coming to me and saying, "You're going to sing or you're going to rap." And at the time, I mean, massive artists like Arctic Monkeys, The Enemy, The Twang, you know, we was really invested in music at the time. And Ryan had the vision. Ryan was the one who said, "Jump," and I would say, "How high?" And God, how things have changed, because this is my band now. I'm joking. No, but like I say, I love Ryan to bits, you know what I mean? And we've gone through some real lows and some real highs together. And ultimately, as I say, that's just helped us to be who we are today.
Yeah. I think Brothers, like when we first started out, was always in the same place. And it's like you've got less decisions to make because you're as one. Do you know what I mean? As Brothers, we was just one. Like we're gonna get, do you know what I mean, a drummer, and can we practice this day? We're always making the same decisions. So it helped definitely being Brothers to have one, because we had the same, yeah, it was coming from the same place. So definitely helped that way in the early days to get things off the ground.
So as the main music guy then, Ryan, how did you like get into the guitar? Or, you know, did you go straight for the guitar or did you try other instruments out? How did you get into the
So I
thing?
think first, like my dad was massively into his music, pushing his music onto us. He never played a thing, sang on karaoke and stuff, but he was always taking us to gigs that we didn't even want to go to. Like he'd take us to Stereophonics and I'd be like, oh, it was class and was there. But at the time I was like, do I want to? And he took us to all these bands or whatever. And then we got to festivals. He took us to V Festival. When we was young, I'm talking when we were like 11, 12, we're walking about V Festival, watching Ocean Colour Scene and stuff, thinking like, these are brilliant, whatever. So for me personally, my journey started, my best friend was just mad into rock, like AC/DC. And he took us to see AC/DC at Download Festival. I was about 13 and I just saw like Angus Young like doing this stuff and I was like, I want to play guitar. So I had a couple of guitar lessons with my best mate, and because if we both done it at the same time, it was half price, the lesson. So we could sort of afford it if we went together. So I started learning. That's how I started learning guitar. But yeah, just seeing the one that just sort of found me.
And yeah, and we kind of talked over you a little bit there, Mikey, when you were talking about the lyrics and kind of thing. Do you want to finish off what you were talking about there, mate?
Yeah, I mean, just for me, like as a kid, I always had an affiliation towards the English language. I think every sort of scenario I found myself in, I always sort of wanted to put it down on paper. And I never really could understand why that was. And as I got that little bit older, thanks to my brother, it made a lot more sense. And, you know, I was given that opportunity to write lyrics and sing along to some of the chord progressions that Ryan would write. And since then, really, it's just spiraled and spiraled. I've had a little bit more of a say with regards to chord progressions and whatnot. And together we always used to write. But I mean, early days, it was just, I'd sort of stick to what I knew best, you know. And I think as sort of time has come on and we've both developed as musicians, there has been a little bit more animosity in that respect. You know what I mean? Like perhaps Ryan has ideas and I have ideas, and at times we will come together and bang heads, but ultimately it makes for a better record.
Oh yeah.
I think at the start as well, like my brother was like, he'd never done singing before, and I think he's an absolutely unbelievable singer. But when he first started, he didn't have the confidence to really sing, so it was more just speaking his lyrics. And them early gigs, we got more gigs because people was loving the lyrics. Do you know what I mean? People was loving hearing these stories. I mean, some of our early songs, we had like just mad lyrics, like little stories and stuff that he'd create, and he just really got us onto the next thing, sort of next stage, like without even singing.
So were you in different bands before the Assist, or has it always been the Assist?
It's always been this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We as brothers, we did used to occasionally video, you know, covers and whatnot, and God, I mean, if you was to skip through the archives on YouTube, you'd find some really shocking stuff, I should imagine. But again, that's part and parcel of being a musician, you know. I think the development of us as musicians and as people is just largely due to the time that we have put into our art.
Mm. One thing that I've always what's always stood out about your band is that there's nothing really like the assist out there. If you get me, there's nothing. You know, you can. You know, there's loads of indie bands all wearing leather jackets and just doing that thing. You know, I know a few bands from. There's a Birmingham and that the Black Country area is so diverse. Like, you know, I had the Pagans on in Sheffield the other day. You know, you guys, you know, you're all from a similar kind of area. I know it's a big demographic, but there's so much diversity in Birmingham compared to what I see in Manchester, for example, and particularly Sheffield. How do you feel? Where did that sound come from for you guys?
I mean, in terms of our sound, like I say, we've got such an array of influences. I mean, I listen to some crazy stuff, and I know Ryan does too. I mean, with regards to the album, there's a touch of, you know, Dua Lipa in there. There's a touch of composers like Ludovico Einaudi. I mean, Ludovico Einaudi inspired me to start playing piano, start playing keys. And as a result, like, I'd sort of put together a couple of chord progressions and they're sort of illustrated within the album. Ryan, you know, I know he listens to quite a diverse range of music, probably a lot different to what I listen to. And then because of that, because we have got such an array of influences, that sort of comes together. And, you know, we all sort of push our parts forward and say, I think we need an element of this, we need an element of that. And ultimately it makes for the sound that we have. But just touching on that sentence you said just then about, you know, there are plenty of bands that do the same thing, wear the leather jackets, you know, the winkle pickers and whatnot. But
we have ordered theirs for the second album. To be fair.
You're just going to have a different colour tracksuit, aren't you?
Never one, mate. Never.
Leather tracksuit.
But ultimately, for us growing up as kids, that's all we knew. You know, I remember, I think it was maybe my 13th birthday party, the first year as a teenager. My mum told Brian that he had to wear jeans, and he had the house up, smashed the house up, because jeans for us was, you know, it was always stick your best trackies on, stick your best hoodie on, and that was all it ever was. And I remember, as sort of when we was just starting off, we used to walk through the studios, and God, we used to get some right looks. People would say, was it Dexys Midnight Runners that used to play in tracksuit bottoms and stuff? We used to get often referred to as Dexys Midnight Runners because you'd have, you know, prim and proper lads walking through the studio corridor in suits and ties and whatnot, and we'd be there in football boots, shin pads, and our best football top. You know what I mean? And because for us that was a way of living. It was not necessarily, oh, let's dress up to our nines and go and play music. You know, this is our life. Music is our life. So we won't change anything to do it. You know what I mean? It's very much part of our everyday life. And we never felt as though we had to dress up for that. I mean, don't get me wrong, if ever we're invited to some fancy awards and whatnot, I might pull out my best Adidas tracksuit, but that's about as good as it gets.
You had a nice suit on one of your recent videos though, Micah. You had a nice suit on for that.
I did indeed.
Oh yeah. He's lost it, eh, man? He's lost his roots, man. You're right. Check it down.
But ultimately, if you listen to the message behind the tune,
yes.
I'm actually not necessarily, you know, being myself. You know, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I can dress up nice as well.
Yeah. well, you've always been like so honest as a band as well. And was it you, Ryan, that put that post out earlier today on Facebook? Or it might have been the other day, just saying like, you know, how much of a journey it's been to get to this stage where you've got this album out now and you feel grateful for the journey that you've had and you've made mistakes along the way and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that you mentioned on it was that that you had a deal on the table from Universal. So that must have been kind of an amazing like time. Just talk us through that experience and what happened with it.
So like we always thought, like, we've always had this opinion that like we we know best. Do you know what I mean? So like when we first started playing a band, and someone was like, "Oh, you need a bass player," we was like, "Nah, we don't need a bass player, mate. We just because we didn't have one, we're doing it our way." Do you know what I mean? This is the way we're doing it and stuff. And I mean, like we always just thought we was right about everything. And when we so like when we 2017 we was playing, like we luckily got on lots of festivals, was on all, everything was going right for us, do you know what I mean? And yeah, like just openly, like a couple of different labels got in touch, like big names, and someone from Universal came down, I picked him up from the train station, watched their rehearsal, was like, lads, you what, I'll come to loads of bad ones, this is brilliant, whatever. Went away, got us in touch with a lawyer. So like we had a lawyer, and it was like, this is a stage now, like they're making you an offer. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got this lawyer, whatever. And at the same time, we just completely unfolded ourselves. Like it was all we was playing too many shows really, because we was just playing for anywhere, to not taking it seriously, just getting drunk and stuff. And at the same time, a lot of things went wrong for us at the same time, and it all fell apart. Yeah, but I feel like it didn't stop us. And the ending message was just keep writing music, it'll come. You'll get over these things, sort of thing.
It just wasn't the right time.
Yeah, none of us was right for it mentally either. Do you know what I mean? Like we'd have gone there and just it just wouldn't have happened. But it was a great experience, and that was always, we always knew in our hearts that what we was putting out there was good enough. Do you know what I mean? That was our validation that what we was doing was the right thing, sort of thing. So,
and how do you reflect on it, Micah?
I mean, for me, I was very young at the time. Do you know what I mean? So I was sort of in the mindset that if I just listen to my brother, everything will be okay. And I guess, you know, as life is, Ryan was, I don't know, maybe 23, 24 at the time. And for him, it was all about enjoying life. And I perhaps didn't have the professional mindset that I should have had, and neither did the lads too. So for us, it was so easy to get overwhelmed by all the opportunities that we did have. You know, we'd be playing shows, and I don't regret a thing to a degree. I mean, I wish that some things, you know, would have gone differently, but ultimately, whatever happened back then will have shaped the album that we've created today. And one thing for certain that I do know is that we are much better musicians now than what we was 5 years ago. So if we was able to attract the attention that we did back then, there's nothing to say that we can't attract that attention again, perhaps over the next 9 to 12 months. And I know full well, as I say, that we've developed as musicians, we've developed as people, but still, I would never ever say that I'm going to go to a gig and not have the time of my life. I'd never like to sacrifice the enjoyment. Ultimately, when we go to shows, you know, we go to have a good time because that's what music's about. And what that experience taught me was to not get overexcited and sort of, you know, so stuck up in your ways about getting signed and signing a major deal. Because the second you sign a major deal, perhaps you may lose that artist integrity. And also you may not necessarily be able to do the things that you always dreamed of doing. And often more than not, people come to me and say, "Oh, do you wish the band would have made it?" And I say, "Fuck you, mate," because the band has made it. We've achieved everything that we ever set out to achieve and more. You know, we've played international festivals, UK festivals, and ultimately I've been doing it with my best mates the whole time. And the record that we've got now really does illustrate that story over the last 7 to 8 years. And I couldn't be more proud of it. You know, I've got it on my mantelpiece now. And to a degree, I couldn't give a fuck whether 5 people buy it or 100 people buy it, because the record and what it means to me and my brother, Ben, Luke and George, is better than anything anyone could ever offer me.
One thing that struck me listening to the album, and I've ordered the vinyl as well, it's on its way, Bank Holiday, and that I presume it's just taking a bit more time because at Bank Holiday it'll be on its way. But I've got it on its way. But I have listened to it, and on when it was released, I caned it and I put it on RGM that I was listening to it and I was loving it. One thing that a lot of bands do with the debut album is use quite a lot of their old back catalogue and old content that they've used, old singles, like it might be 7 or 8 old singles, really, a new album, plus a new 3. But this album is pretty much brand new content in it. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, we love that too. We felt like we had to do that. Do you know what I mean? Because like we sort of, people are saying, "Oh, this is a great debut album." I'm like, this is their second album. Do you know what I mean? Their first album's on Spotify, all them singles. Do you know what I mean? But but yeah, like we loved our old stuff. We've always took stuff down and wanted to move on from it and not be like, yeah, our old stuff's all perfect, but we just knew that we had the songs. We've always not released loads of stuff because I don't know what it is, like, just it's hard to keep releasing singles, and we've not been prolific at all in releasing songs. Like in 5 years, we might have released 10 songs, like 2 a year. Do you know what I mean? And we've not been that way. So we thought, have the chance to show what we can write, and let's just do it. Do you know what I mean? 11 songs, and it was 11 songs. It could have been 20 songs. We've cut it down that much from there, sort of thing.
Well, on the little post that you put up as well, I found it interesting. It said prior to, Council Pop, the album coming out, that there was still a lot of uncertainty surrounding the even future, having a future as the Assist. So is that, what was going on there, and why is it still going? Why are you still with us?
I think the album really has made us realise how much music is a part of our lives, and I think when music is a part of your life, it will be a part of your life for the rest of your life. And I think there was a lot of uncertainty because we didn't have a great deal of direction. I think we developed as musicians, and at times, there was perhaps too many opinions. And for us to be able to come together and really sort of whittle it down to 11 tracks was a very difficult experience, At times in music, one person believes one thing, another believes another. And we had a lot of sort of conflicts in that respect. We really needed to sit down and discuss what was best for the band as opposed to what was best for us as individuals. And I think prior to the album, that lack of direction really, we were sort of concentrating on our personal lives as opposed to, as a group of musicians. I started to really invest in my relationships, potentially a more financially stable career and whatnot. And we was just really uncertain. We had not a great deal of direction. And of course, with what had happened in the past, we wondered if maybe it had run its course. But, I think if anything, this album has made us realise that, we really do believe in our capabilities as musicians. And, how well the album has been received has inspired us that little bit more. But to a degree, we knew that this album was going to be received as well as what it has been because, a lot of time had really gone into it. We're all perfectionists in our own way. I mean, it's got to have been maybe 20 months ago now that we really started creating a vision for this album. And, as those 20 months have passed, there's been a lot of spare time to write more music too. So, we've spent a lot of time writing music, which will be used beyond Council Pop. But right now, we just sort of want to sit and revel in the sort of pride that we have in creating this record, and rather than get too ahead of ourselves, we just really want to focus on making sure that this is well received and enough people get to hear it.
Yeah, I think that lack of direction thing is exactly what it was about, the uncertainty. Like, where if that's all the mistakes we made early on in our career as well, like getting too drunk and smashing up venues, whatever, was because there was shows with lack of direction. We was playing random shows and whatever, and having no direction is just no good for no one. So I think like the album owned in that direction, and now we've got another forward path. But secondly, it's like it is the hardest game in the world, and you can't just sort of, you've got to give it everything. You can't just play once every year and hope for the best. You've got to work hard to go tour the country and stuff, and it's a taxing thing. And we've done it for like 5-6 years, every weekend, up and down the country for no money. We've put so much into it, like, and this is a product of it. So we're super proud as well.
It just, just from listening to the album 4 or 5 times, just on release day, it's angry. You're frustrated people, aren't you? There's a lot of honesty in there. Like,
let me out.
is that like, was that part of how you were feeling? That I'm just getting a vibe from it.
Yeah, we're angry. True. We're angry, man. We're angry.
Yeah, I mean, it was again just a collection of emotions and a build-up of frustration over the years because of mistakes that we had made, and but to a degree, like as much as we are hungry, we are also happy too. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's an array of emotions through the record. You know, there's ups, there's downs, and whatever. But again, without the journey that we have been on, the record wouldn't be what it is. So, you know, I'm glad that the picture that it does paint is a little bit of anger. You know, I think there's a lot of sentiment in there too, a lot of happiness, and you know, and ultimately that's exactly what we have gone through over the last 7 years. So the fact that you say that just reassures me that we really did get down on paper exactly what we wanted to get across.
And just before we go into the album in a bit more detail, Ryan, you're a dad now. How has that shaped you moving forward with your life, being an actual dad yourself and owning a human?
That's where all the anger comes from, really, mate. But nah, it's great. It's great. Honestly, he's won tomorrow, and it's like the best.
Wow.
I've had the best. I've had an amazing year. It's been great, and it's nice just to put your own. Do you know what I mean? You ain't got to do it any one certain way. You know what I mean? I can put my own. I'm looking forward to pushing more music onto him, more football onto him. Just bringing it up nice, but it's great, and it makes you just cherish your time more. So like when I'm doing the band stuff, I'm buzzing to be there. Do you know what I mean? I'm there early. I'm asking if we can stay late. You know what I mean? It's buzzing. It's great.
Yeah. Well, the album starts off. Is it Water? Well, I've mentioned notes here. Water. That instrumental when the album started, I thought, you know, when you get a new album and it falls in your lap, I'm just going to listen to this new band's album. You're just like, you've no idea what it's going to be, and then it starts off with something as amazing as that instrumental. That how it starts. I'm like, right, it proper sets up the album. Amazing. Where did all the strings and everything come from? I weren't expecting it.
So whilst we was writing the album, a particular reference that I really enjoyed was the string section in a Fatboy Slim track. I can never recall what the name of the track is. I just know Man City Football Club Walk Onto It.
Is them?
Okay.
Who's them? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Right here, right now.
Yes, I got that.
Yeah, and I remember saying to the lads, I love the atmospheric and the ambience behind that record. I think it's a real sort of get up and you know, a punch in the face sort of tune, and I really wanted to replicate that nice and early on in the album, just to set the foundation, you know, lay the foundation and say, look, this album, it's ups and downs, but just before we start, let's have a rook, you know, let's smash the place up a little bit.
Yeah, and the instrumental riff, we have open sets with that riff before, like it was originally like a set opener that we wrote. So it's sort of we have that is sort of an older thing that we've reinvented, sort of thing.
You've got to be opening with that for the gigs you've got coming up, surely.
You'll have to come and see.
Okay, right. Fair enough. Well, we're going to put a link to it. We'll talk about your gigs in a little bit. We'll just, you know, stay with the album a little bit now, because it's one of my favorite songs on there is My Friend Drug. That is from the heart. You know, I'm sure the story's in the title a little bit, but the lyrics to it affected, and I felt something from that song. Talk us through, you know, talk us through that song. I don't know how to word it.
Yeah. So, being completely honest, laying it all on the table. Yeah. This song caused a little bit of conflict amongst the band, simply because it was a period whereby me and my brother had fell out and hadn't spoke to each other for a good 7 or 8 months. Wow. So I wrote this song on keys. I had a chord progression for ages that I was sort of singing along to, and I hadn't spoke to Ryan in 7 or 8 months, as I said, and I grabbed a hold of Ben, the drummer, and Luke, of course, who's now a permanent fixture in the band, but of course he was our photographer many years ago. And I said, look, lads, come round mine. I've got a track here. Ryan at the time, he had a lot going on in his life. Do you know what I mean? And we just wasn't speaking for that period of time. And of course, the second Ryan found out that I'd nabbed their drummer and also our photographer and started writing music, of course, it didn't go down well, which is completely fair. You know what I mean? So it was something that we wanted to revisit when we got back together, when there was no animosity in the air. And of course, Ryan wrote a fantastic chord progression to it as well. It just seemed to work. And when we come back together, it was quite emotional, really. because, you know, we all had lots of things going on in our lives at the time. And this record, of course, it was a little bit awkward. You know, we come together and we wanted to all put our own stamp on it from that point forward so that we could sort of draw any animosity under the carpet. And as a result, we came out with a real great track, in my opinion, that, you know, is full of tons of emotions.
It does. You can't listen to that song and not feel part of the story that you're telling.
Yeah. So for me, like, I moved to London basically like 4 years ago, and so obviously like the band was uncertain then, whatever, and I hadn't spoken to my brother for a little while. We fell over something ridiculous, and then he sent me this track, and I was like, at this point, I hated this kid more than anyone. Like, and I was like, you're sending me music, I'm gonna listen to it, and I can't wait to tell you how bad it is, how you need me. I listened to it, and I was like, oh no, it's really good, man. Like, it's class. So I know that's really my like, we do a lot of reflection on our music, man, and like I knew that had to be on the album from the, because it's a brilliant tune.
The power
But
of
lyrically
music.
as well, tell the story lyrically as well, don't it? Do you know what I mean?
The power of music. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's crazy. It really is.
How it can bring people back together and, you know, just shape your life. And when music grabs you, it's hard to let it go, isn't it? You know, or it's just impossible to let it go. That's what it's like.
Most definitely. I mean, it's a drug in itself, music. You know, I think it can help so many people to escape. I mean, me especially, you know what I mean? Growing up, music played such a big part in my life, and I couldn't imagine life without music, if I'm honest.
And Num's a similar kind of story song within that song as well. It's bleak in some points. It has optimism in it. It has everything, that song as well. That's another one I'm thinking, God, these guys are good now. Honestly.
Yeah.
Nah, thanks, Kai. It means the world from you, man. It really does.
It really does.
And
Numb for us, Numb's about grief, you know, like just being so down and being so sort of fed up with the world that, you know, you almost don't feel anything to a degree, and time can pass you by so quickly. And, you know, not until you sort of out of that rut do you really look back and think, fuck me, I was oblivious to everything that was going on in my life. At times I felt nothing, and that really, I hope, comes across in the track.
Yeah, it really does. It's a powerful song. It's a powerful song. I want to put a link obviously in this podcast for people to get streaming it or buy the vinyl even. You know, it's you know, I'm just going to share it all over because I love the album. And in the song to Isabella, is there a bit of a vocal tuning in there, Cher style, or have I got it wrong?
What's this?
To Isabella, is there a bit of vocal tuning in that, a bit like Cher?
Yeah, just a little bit.
I knew I'd heard a little bit there. I just wanted to ask. That's all. I'm not judging you.
With the sort of direction that the track went in, you know, that sort of dance vibe and whatnot. Brian Pinson, who is a producer that we've worked ever so closely with over the last 5 or 6 years, he felt that, you know, that would be the right sound for the vocals, and I think it works, you know, especially with that exit lude of that track, how it really does enter that sort of dark, trancey dance section. And we just wanted to take influence from that a little bit, and Pinson, I think he worked it really well.
Yeah, and I think we had so like when we was recording the album, we had all these amazing plans to like get a string section in and get full orchestra, and we really wanted to work with a female singer as well, like we really did. So we sort of put an advert out, like, to see who'd be up for singing on the album, and we came across Shannon, who sings on the album. She's from a band called Dame in Birmingham, and she
which song is it? My notes are a bit shit. I have got who was the girl singing on the album, because she's got a right voice.
Yeah, so that's Shannon from Dame. But she originally just came in to do one song. I think it was Numb. Was it Numb? She come in to do one song, and then we'd finish the session early and was like, "Oh, do you want to just sing over a few other tracks?" And like we just hit the ground running really well with her. Her vocal suited was perfect, and she's on about 3 tracks in the end, isn't she, Mike?
Yep. Mm-hmm. She, I remember we put the advert out on Instagram, and I was tasked with finding the perfect vocal to sort of accommodate the delivery of the track Numb. And I wanted something that was nice and soft, because at times in that track I do deliver quite aggressively, and I just thought it really contrasted nice with that sort of aggressive vocal at times. And she come to the studio. I mean, I said to the lads, look, she's fucking brilliant, and she exceeded my expectations. I was blown away. Like, I think, she was so good, and we hope to work with her again, of course. And to me, she reminds me a little bit of lead singer of the Cranberries.
Yes. Yeah.
What's her name now?
Mrs. Cranberry.
Mrs. Cranberry. Yeah. No, but on the Zombie track in particular,
yeah,
she really sort of resembles that sort of sound, I think.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the album, lads. I just wanted to.
Thanks ever so much, Paul.
It really means so good to have that piece of work behind you now and know that the band's going forward and you've got these gigs coming up. What I'll do now, lads, I'm just going to pause the interview because Zoom's telling me it's going to kick me off in a minute. Can I?
You got premium?
Can I? No, I'm from Yorkshire, mate. Yeah, so congratulations on the album, lads. Proper amazing feat to have this body of work behind you. And you've got these gigs coming up as well that we're going to be sharing. So just talk us through this tour and what you're trying to achieve from it. Because I know your van broke earlier this week, so that's not going to be helping things, is it?
So we're trying to find for this tour to get us through an MLT tour.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of troubles with the van over the past few days.
Yeah.
We're hoping, fingers crossed, it should all be fine by the weekend. But ultimately, the tour for us, when we sort of arranged these dates, we was, as we touched on earlier, we was unsure as to whether or not they was going to be sort of our last dates as a band. And, we really didn't know how much time we could give. So we sort of said to ourselves, we'll do a Manchester, London and Birmingham. And then depending upon how well the album is received, we may do a bigger tour, perhaps a few months on. And, as a group, we have discussed that, we're sort of going to do the 3 dates and then, really hope that the album will carry us for a good 2 or 3 months. We've got lots planned. So it could well be that we sort of revisit the idea of doing a much larger UK tour around winter time. But we were sort of unsure, as I say, as to where the future lied with the band.
Yeah.
But, we gave everything for these shows. Our live show at the moment is sounding phenomenal. It really is. And I can't wait to deliver this album. As I say, with the album being so well received, it'll be nice to make that connection with the people that have had such nice words to say.
You're just going to celebrate it with the real world. It's just going to be nice anyway, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. I think we also, at the time when we was planning the gigs and stuff, it was still a bit COVID-y, and we've got so many baskets to juggle, like with the album release. We just wanted to put 3 dates out there that we knew we ain't got to promote to death, that we're just going to pretty much sell ourselves out, and it'd be class just to get back to people. And we've already had people saying, like, oh, I know you ain't playing Sheffield, but we're getting an hotel for the night, and I know you're not playing here, but so it's going to be great. It's going to be really, really special.
That must be nice. Like people from like all over the country just wanting to be part of it.
Yeah, mate, we make them feel part of it. Do you know what I mean? We'll be in the same hotel as them. We'll be buying them breakfast in the morning. It'd be class. But that's what it's all about with us. Like, we've always been, every festival we've gone to, we've dragged people with us, got people guest lists for. We've always been like that. We've always been that way.
So what's the show going to look like then? What can we expect, or don't you want to say?
No, I mean, by all means, we're open about it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of album tracks.
Yeah.
There's also going to be quite a bit of old stuff too. I think we owe it to some people to still play some of our old stuff, and I think a lot of it has stood the test of time. So it's a fierce introduction. It's sort of very much in your face for the first perhaps 3 or 4 songs, and like we'll take it down a notch, and then probably smash the place up towards the end.
Yeah. How do you prefer? Can't speak. How do you prepare for a tour? I love asking that question to bands because it's so different for everybody.
Certainly.
Have you got all new leads and stuff sorted? Have you got your strings? Have you got all that kind of shit?
Have you, Ryan?
Well, what are you bringing that up for, Carl? What are you bringing that? What are you?
I hadn't even thought about it.
But yeah, nah, we do. Obviously, we'll do. You have to think about all this stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna get my amp serviced and all that. But although the gig is in 2 weeks, I haven't quite got round to it yet. But I'm gonna sort it out. But yeah, preparing for tour, it's like we like to practice a lot. Definitely. Do you know what I mean? It's always get the rehearsal hours in, and you know the show's going to be effortless sort of thing. But yeah, we prepare a few nights out to get back on the used to the hangovers.
Okay.
That's always a good one.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, logistically, it's just nice, isn't it? Like we do, you have to think about things. You know what I mean? How are you going to get there? You're going to get from one end of the country to the next, like, and we're going to practice in the cities before as well. Really, we have some interviews to do and stuff. So it's always nice. It's nice to have different things to think about, isn't it?
How do you pick your supports for it?
It's a tough one, really. I mean, like, with the supports for this one, like Flake are the main support for the old tour, and they've been friends of ours for friends and supporters, like for years. Do you know what I mean? They've been at our gigs, they've been giving us demos to listen to and stuff. And it's like, if we ever give the chance to give someone who wants to support your music, like, give them the gig back, we'll always do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if we was selling out arenas, I'd be giving the same bands the same slots. You know what I mean? Because I do feel like, but yeah. And then also other times, like a promoter might give us 3 or 4 bands to listen to, and whoever we feels in the same sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
That's good.
It's an hard one though. It's an hard one because.
And have you given each other jobs to do? Like you're going to sort guest lists. You're going to do, I don't know, sorting strings out. You're going to, message people in that town. You're going to arrange interviews. You're going to do. Have you got that all nailed down, mate? Ryan?
Well, we're thinking about,
mate?
yeah, I'm doing the jobs, but I'm thinking Mike's running the merch stand. End of the gig, you know what I mean? He needs to be there. Have a photo, yeah.
Business end,
yeah. But yeah, so he's on the merch stand, and Mike don't really like to do a lot. We don't like to carry things into the venue and stuff. And
well, there's a singer in here, only needs a microphone, and he doesn't even sing one of them.
I think a lot of my time goes into the prior, so I'll sort of knock these into shape, and then when they're all set for the evening, I'll just watch these lot get pissed, and I have to deal with the rubbish that's left behind a lot of the time.
We're a professional outfit, man. We're looking forward. We've learned loads, man. We know about gigs now. We know we can't have 4 points before we go on. It's only 3.5 and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're right looking forward to it, aren't you? I can just tell.
Yeah, massively, man. It's gonna be unbelievable. Like, yeah, like just Birmingham's pretty much sold out now. We're just gonna announce that next couple of days, but it's just great. Just great to be back playing. Like, just there's nothing better. There's nothing better like match day. You know what I mean? Playing your gig.
I completely agree. I think like we've been away from it for a while, and ultimately it's helped us to understand how much it really does mean to us. I mean, one of the most devastating things for us over the past few days has been that the van has packed up, simply because, we don't want to have to be driving in our own cars. You know what I mean? We want to be together as the lads, sort of, having a hands and whatnot, and sort of really cherishing the experience together, as opposed to having to catch taxis here, catch taxis there. Do you know what I mean? So we want to very much be together during the tour, and you forget that, that like we play the shows and whatever, but the couple of hours at the venue doing sound check, sorting out food and whatever else, it's just as enjoyable as what playing the show is, and sort of you don't realise being in a band and being able to see as much of the country as what we have done, there is that side to it as well.
And what would you say to the people thinking about buying tickets but they've not pressed the button yet? What would you say to those guys?
You're too late.
I'd say by all means, don't buy them. If you are that foolish, don't buy them. I'm telling you now, genuinely, this show is going to be fucking massive. And I have put so much time aside to make sure that this show is going to be massive. And honestly, if you don't want to come, please don't. Please don't.
Yeah. What you said.
What you said. Okay. Well, lads, I wish you all the best. I've really enjoyed catching up, and congratulations on the album. It's a fucking it's such a ride, that album, and I've still got it on when I go to gym and that, where you can just chilling out, and I've still got it on. It just gets me through my 5K on a treadmill. Fucking nice. It's about the right kind of length, and also it gets me through that horrible experience. And and yeah, wish you all the best for the tour. Sorry, I can't make the Manchester one. I'm sponsoring a festival in Macclesfield that night, but it sounds like there might be some more dates that I might be able to tag on to at some point. So I'll definitely come and see you. And lads, wish you all the best for the tour. And thanks for joining us today. Nice one.
Legend, Carl, man. You're the
Thanks ever
best.
so much, mate.
Cheers, mate. Nice one.